Hello, Gloria. Hello, folks in the room. If Richard's not in the room or if he doesn't have his hearing aid in, please tell him that I said hello, Gloria. Gloria's asked me to talk a little bit about why we decided to move to France. And when we first made that decision, we were asked that question quite a bit. And we had sort of a glib answer for it. Kathy and I had always traveled. We van camped across the United States when we were kids, went to Mexico, went to the Caribbean. And as we got older, we started going to Europe. We have friends in England. And the answer to why we decided to live in Europe was because during our active retirement years, what we wanted to do was travel, and where we wanted to travel was Europe. So why not live there? Why spend the money and the time and the effort to go back and forth from the United States, maintain perhaps two homes, one in the United States and one in France, when where we really wanted to be was in France. So we actually began by investigating Portugal and Spain, and we began by thinking about what area of France we might like to be in, and we came to this area in the Languedoc, now Occitanie in France, and found this little village of Caronte and found a house that we like. And so we've sold out in the United States and moved here for good 4.5 years ago. Living here has sort of changed that glib answer. It's expanded it. Once you live here, you realize that you're living in one of the neatest places to live in the world. And out of the corner of my eye, I see out of my office window the blue sky. And the sky here, when it's that shade of blue, is magnificent. I like to say that the Impressionists painted here for a reason. And one of the reasons is the light. The light seems to emanate from the landscape rather than reflect off it. It is unique and it's wonderful. The landscape itself is interesting. We're in the middle of the biggest vineyard in the world, 3 times the size of Bordeaux, 7 times Napa, millions and millions of liters of wine produced. To the north is the Massif Central leading to the Alps. They're sort of the foothills of the Alps. To the southwest, the Pyrenees. To the south, the Mediterranean with all of the different beaches of the Mediterranean, from natural and naturist beaches to beaches that are as touristy as you could want. Rivers that run from the mountains to the sea, cutting gorges, rapids where you can kayak, swimming holes if you don't like the ocean, swimming holes that even in the middle of the summer are chilly because it's the water coming down out of the mountains. So the geography is very interesting and very diverse. I've talked a little bit about being in the biggest vineyard in the world. The wine is cheap and the wine is diverse, and it's getting better. The Languedoc used to serve the cheapest red wine in Europe. Every European had cheap Languedoc red wine on their table at one time. Now Languedoc is branching out, and Languedoc is creating some interesting wines, and of course they're inexpensive. Here, my favorite rosé costs about $4.50 a bottle. My favorite Chardonnay Viognier, costs 6 or 7 euros a bottle. My favorite reds cost 8 or 9 euros a bottle. If we spend more than 10 euros a bottle for wine, we think we're being taken. The food tastes like food is supposed to taste. Annie, our local farmer, has a stand in the church square. It's tomato season, and the tomatoes just taste wonderful. They're grown for their taste. They're not grown for their ability to be transported across the continent. So she has tomatoes, and she has cucumbers, and she has squash, and she has onions, and she has potatoes. She has herbs. Whatever is in season, Fanny's got it. It's at a reasonable price, and she's happy to sell it to you, and they taste the way they're supposed to taste. Lamb tastes the way it's supposed to taste. Pork tastes the way it's supposed to taste. We just had a lunch at a little restaurant in the town down the way, Capistang, and their lunch special was basically pork belly. It's called poitrine de porc, and I've never tasted anything quite so porky as that poitrine. It was just wonderful off the grill, and pork tastes like pork. The beef is pretty lousy. We're used to well-marbled corn-fed beef, and the beef here is kind of game beef. It's generally not well marbled and generally cut thin, and they sell you a thing called steak frites in the restaurants, thin slices of beef steak and local French fries, And it's sort of a ubiquitous dish, steak frites, but the steak is really pretty bad. But the lamb and the pork and the seafood and the veal and just about anything. But we have two wonderful butchers in our village, and that's another reason why we have expanded our reasons for living in France, and that is that even though we're in a small rural village, and it's politically conservative, this is an area that would vote for the National Front, Marine Le Pen, the far-right party here in France. This is a region that was her stronghold, the south and southwest of France. But the people, individually, are very welcoming. I had always thought that they would resent the fact that there seemed to be a sort of a more Brits and more Americans and more English speakers than you might expect in a small village of 1,500. But one of our friends, who is embedded in the French community because her kids have gone to school here for many years, said, no, the French love the fact that we're here. They love the fact that we support the local businesses. They love the fact that we come to local events. So they're very welcoming, and our neighbors are very welcoming to us. They've taken care of our cats when we've gone on vacation. So we're very happy to be here. They seem to be happy that we're here too. The mayor shakes our hands when we pass in the village. The local cop shakes our hand when we pass in the village. So we're very pleased to be here, and the French are very pleased to have us. The wine is great. The cheese is great. The food is great. The people are nice. The geography is great. What's there not to like? And then every once in a while, Gloria and Richard show up. Well, I hope this is what you were looking for, Gloria. Oh, there's one thing. You did mention that you wanted to talk a little bit about moving here and the different electricity and so. Moving here is kind of interesting. As with any move that you make, you have to think about what you want to keep and what you want to throw away. And when you're talking about shipping it across an ocean, and we went from a 3-story house with a full basement, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, full basement, 2-car garage with a loft. When you talk about going from there to a very small French house, well, this is very tiny compared with no garage, no outdoor space, just a nice sized terrace. We had to really pare down. We literally threw away 2 industrial dumpster loads of stuff. Brought some things that we probably shouldn't have, left some things behind that we might have brought had we thought about it a little more. But one of the things that was interesting was the kitchen. The electricity here is 220 volt, and of course in the United States it's mostly 110. So our KitchenAid, our immersion blender, and many of our appliances are 110. We decided that it was cost effective to buy what's called a step-down generator, step-down voltage regulator, that would take that 220 and turn it into 110 so that we could plug 110 appliances into it. That cost us about $100. Shipping it was, compared to the rest of what we were shipping, was not very much. So we saved several $100s because the KitchenAid, as you know, costs $400 or $500, and here it costs €400 or €500. So $100 plus shipping to save our KitchenAid was well worth it, and that meant it also saved our immersion blender. It also saved some of our battery chargers. It also saved my beard trimmer, although I have since bought a rechargeable local beard trimmer from the local Lidl. But that helped us sort of make the transition to a French kitchen. While the KitchenAid still does its work, now we have a French blender, we have a French food processor, and so on and so forth, even though we still maintain the step-down voltage regulator. I think that's all. If you have any questions, one of the things that you can do is look at my blog. I do have a blog. It's www.southfranceamerican.com, www.southfranceamerican.com. And Gloria has my email address if you'd like to talk some more or get in touch. If you'd like to get in touch, come on down to Caron sometime. Gloria's got an extra bedroom and I've got an extra bedroom. Come visit. It's a great place.